I'm a horse outfitter. I would imagine that thousands of outfitters make their living, or a good part of their living, taking trips into the wilderness. There isn't a positive, viable, sustainable economic use of wilderness. I'm one of them, and I believe in that. The flip side is that it's irrelevant. The flip side is that wild lands and wilderness exist for entirely other reasons. Wilderness exist in order to give the planet an opportunity to have spaces where nature can express itself without man's interference. So wilderness areas aren't locked up in the sense that they are of no use, because they're always of use, if to nobody else but the planet itself.
Americans from all walks of life appreciate wilderness as a critical sanctuary for plants and animals.
We as humans, we tend to see things as we're the only ones out here. And everything in the world is a balance. We have to realize that no matter how tiny the creature we may not even see, it does serve a purpose in our world.
We were the first tribe that designated an area for wilderness. Most of our people, like myself, feel that, not every piece of timbered area should be harvested or managed for monetary values. And so the tribal council designated this area as wilderness.
I would say that there are certain areas that man is a visitor and should not remain. The birthplace and nursery of the caribou. Our people have always believed that it's sacred. We don't go there when they're using it to give birth to their young. And our people also believe that about salmon spawning areas, about areas that are vital to the perpetuation of life. We leave these areas alone.
Americans know wilderness is for people, too. All of us benefit from the existence of these places, and they're part of our national heritage.
I think that wilderness speaks to, it kind of lies at the heart of democracy, in that it's open to all people. And I think that wilderness, along with all public lands, are going to become more and more important to the disenfranchised, the marginalized segments of our population, as a place to go, as a safe haven to recreate, but also a place that brings with it a lot of environmental services. Things like endangered species protection, wildlife habitat protection, soil, water conservation, air, water quality issues, the environmental system values that we get from wilderness areas certainly are a birthright of all Americans.
What right do we have to take that away from our great-great-grandchildren? To take the air that they breathe, the water that they drink? What right do we have to deny them what we have today? We don't have that right.
One can't put a price on essential elements like clean air, clean water, and an unpolluted environment. Protection and stewardship of the wilderness areas is not just for those who enjoy those areas. It's for everyone.
Of course, Americans love to go to the wilderness for recreation, primitive recreation without using motors. Riding horses, canoeing, hiking, floating rafts, even dog sledding. And often, these recreational experiences change a person.
When we bring inner city kids from Metro Denver into the outdoors for the first time, it's like an awakening. It's comparable to a caterpillar coming out as a moth. A total spiritual awakening, a total physical awakening.
My greatest accomplishment would be hiking up all the way to the top of that mountain and staring down and seeing the beautiful valley below and feeling it. It was the most incredible thing I've ever felt in my life. It was beautiful. I think that I'm a different person out here. I'm not so worried. I'm not so anxious.
Being in the wilderness relaxes me and comforts me. In the city, it's busy. It has a lot of noise. Like, you don't get much solitude, but out in the wilderness, you get a lot of solitude. You started right there. You get education. You get outdoor education. That's what I figured out about it. You have no TV, but it's fun.
You know, you see a lot of changes in people from the first day to the last day of the trip. I mean, something happens, that these people find something close to their center in this sort of primordial place. And people come out of there with a real awareness of the fact that they've been a part of that landscape for 6 or 7 or 8 days.
But for many Americans, the experience that's important in wilderness is more than just visiting a place for physical exertion and beautiful scenery.
It's a place where I can slow down and think. And in many ways, it's where I can measure my life. I can measure how I'm doing because those distractions of civilization aren't present. And that's one of the great values of wilderness for me, just to sit quietly, to center myself.
Places like this bring me hope. Without the sound of the birds, without the sound of the breeze through the sawgrass, without being able to canoe, without being able to see the moon rise in the middle of the day, strangely as it sounds, those are the things that make my life complete.